We'll wait for a couple more seconds. All right, we're live on Facebook, and we're also doing a podcast. I haven't done anything for a long time, but happen to be here with a real amazing friend. This is Zoe Roberts, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, all the different degrees. She's got those, LSMDs and F, all that kind of good stuff. But she's going to tell you what it's all about. We have decided to start a Wednesday podcast and talking about different types of issues with first responders and with people that have gone through trauma, and just a variety of topics. So it's kind of a no holds bar. You guys kind of know me with, people I've had on prior, but we're going to do this consistently every week, and we'll probably have some guests on, and hopefully we'll help people, we'll change some lives, and hopefully people will reach out to Zoe, because she is like she's like the person that knows and has dealt with and treated in the most kindly way. I don't know how to say it any other way, but if there's people that have issues, PTSD issues, whatever issues there might be, she's the gal to come to. So I'm going to get up real quick. This is like live stuff. I just want to get that off the screen. So Zoe and Beau, kind of the Zoe and Beau show for Wednesdays. Yep. Zoe, tell everybody out there who you are, what you've done, and I'm really grateful we can do this, and I hope it's informative.
Oh, I do as well. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Zoe Roberts, and I am a CMHC, which is a clinical mental health counselor licensed. I have a private practice on Highland Drive, 4190 Highland Drive, and you can get hold of me on my cell phone, 801-573-3562. I've been involved with law enforcement and keenly aware of the law enforcement field for about 35 years. I'm very aware of the pressures that they have, of what they go through, and the effects that has on them and their families. It's a need that really needs to be served, and I think a lot of places are serving it, but I can give you a personal touch to it because I know what's going on with it. So yeah, we're going to talk about trauma and how it affects people, and suicide, which I know is close to you.
Right, suicide, and so you've been married to a first responder for a long time. And he's been involved in law enforcement for over 40 years, and yes. So you've seen not only his journey, but you've seen other people's journey.
Yes, I have.
One of the things we want to do, and we're going to have, like I said, we're going to have some guests on from time to time, when and if they want to come on. I know it's kind of a touchy subject, but what are some of the things that you've seen over the years, maybe from like from an early stage of a career to maybe a long career? What are some of the things that you've seen other than divorce and all those other things? What have you seen?
I see new recruits come in all the time, and their enthusiasm is through the roof. They really want to go out there and be the John Wayne. But 68% of those officers will be involved in a shooting within the first 2 years of their career.
68%.
68%. Okay. The suicide rate, according to national figures that I got out of Massachusetts, was up 2018 was up 19 more than there were the year before.
Right.
And in December of 2018, there were 20 deaths by suicide for first responders, police officers.
So in your past, have you helped everyone from new recruits to old timers? And is there anything in common with it? Is it, I guess I'm kind of leading the question, but is there anything common in it as far as non-communication with their spouses or their loved ones, to isolation? What seems to be, is there one thing, or is it a lot of things?
You hit it right on the head. When they go through the traumatic events, police officers, firefighters, there's this sense that they have to be the one everybody goes to. So to reveal that they were scared, that they didn't know what to do, that they had a situation they had to ask for help on, that's not something that they want their families to know. because then they're not the one everybody can go to. People, a lot of police officers and their families get fractured because the officers will isolate. They will, substance abuse is a big thing.
Sure.
That a lot of marriages don't survive because there's not that communication piece there. The officers don't think that they'll understand, and a lot of times the wives don't think the officers understand what they've had to go through either. So that line of communication is essential.
What do you do in that kind of a situation? I mean, what has been some of your techniques? Is it I'm sure it takes a couple of times, just like somebody that's has an addiction issues, but how has that been what has been your experience with how long that might take to kind of reconnecting and re-energizing, if you will?
That level of trust is really important, and it doesn't come within the first 5 minutes that they walk in the door.
Sure.
I'm just another therapist that they're supposed to go and see. But in talking to them, and they realize that I do understand what they've been through, that not only do I have the clinical knowledge of it,
right,
but I live it.
Right.
So I do understand that, and they seem to relax with that, and will tell me a lot of things knowing my background and knowing what I've gone through.
So that camaraderie, I guess, kind of helps out.
Yeah. And sometimes the spouses are interested in coming in. Sometimes they come in on their own. I do offer couples counseling. And when they come in, the first thing that I have them do is they get to sit and face each other and tell each other 5 things they appreciate about each other.
Wow, that could be helpful.
Yeah.
So, in the world of quick fix-its and super therapists and all that, why go to a therapist? Why go to somebody that has that clinical experience and that? Why not just go talk to your friends and whatever? I guess another leading question: why would you go to a therapist?
Going to a therapist is a huge leap for a lot of people, and I understand that, especially first responders who don't have a problem, right?
Sure.
But I offer them an unbiased point of view, and it's not just the clinical, this is what so-and-so says about it, and this is what you need to do. It's like, I got you. I know exactly what's happening, and here's what happens with that.
Do you see, kind of for the folks out there that might watch or might, and hope, listen and watch, what do you see? I mean, obviously, first responders see reality of life. What do you say to, and I know you've helped, women and probably men in traumatic situations, typically they're domestic violence situations. Do you see any, I know the policing is one thing and firefighting is one thing, but do you see any kind of correlation between the two, the traumas, or is trauma?
Trauma's trauma. We actually get our environment through our 5 senses, right? To taste, touch, smell, hearing. When there's a trauma that occurs, all of that information just comes speeding into our brain. Okay, so it hits the amygdala, which is where it kind of sorts through things before it goes to...
That was a big word for me.
The hippocampus, which stores all of the memories.
Sure, gotcha.
When it comes in too fast like that, and there's all this trauma around, it's coming through our 5 senses, it doesn't have time to process to go where it really needs to go. The hippocampus doesn't really know where to put it. It's not in family memories, right? It's not in early childhood memories. So what do I do with this?
Right.
So it is just out there, really hasn't been processed, hasn't been told where it needs to go. Okay. So, of course, the next time that you get that sense of a siren, of somebody screaming, of a loud noise, right? The brain is going to go, that's your trauma.
Sure.
And that's where the PTSD comes in. So knowing that that's the process that happens, and talking about it and just picking it apart and saying, you're not abnormal. This is what happens. The brain doesn't realize that, oh, this is trauma from childhood and this is trauma from your job. It's just trauma.
Sure. So I guess one of the things that we often talk about is, we're going to talk a lot about a lot of different things. That may sound kind of stupid, but over the next long while every week. And those of you that are just joining, this is Zoe Roberts and I'm Beau Babka. Zoe is a clinical
mental health
expert. I mean, she's got all those degrees and all that experience as far as having to deal with first responders and people, you know, dealing with all kinds of trauma. I guess one of the really quick, what do you tell, I'm always telling people, and I'm definitely not, I don't have all the licenses, but I'm always telling people one of the things that they should, obviously if they've been involved in trauma, is go through the process,
right.
Find a therapist, go to somebody that you connect with. What do you tell them as far as like doing things that make them happy or maybe take them out of that that trauma? Do you what are some maybe one or two little things that you might like give them homework and tell them you need to do this?
Yeah, one of the first things that I will do is tell them, I want you to list 5 things that you're grateful for every night for a week, and it can't be the same 2 things on any day. Always has to be different things.
Okay.
Then you need to get calm in yourself, because first responders, there's no other job on this planet that guarantees you're going to run into a trauma more than 1 time a day, usually.
Right.
So finding that space where you can be quiet and within yourself is really a chore for first responders, because they're always listening, right? They're always wanting to get out there and do it. But if they can take 5 minutes in the morning or in the afternoon before they go to sleep to just sit and get quiet with themselves, you know, turn on a guided meditation or just some music that will take them to a quiet place where they can just kind of settle down, settle their minds down, just to put them in that space of relaxation for a moment.
Settling down, relaxation, mindfulness, yeah. Understanding what you're grateful for.
Right.
How about for the more mature and maybe, you know, I always think that emergency room staff, cops, firefighters, and I throw, you know, domestic violence victims of trauma in that kind of that realm.
Right.
What about those that have gone through it and maybe they're trying to maintain, or maybe they're 20 years out from some of that stuff, like a guy like me, 20 or almost 30 years from some of that stuff. What can they do to, you know, obviously they could get a hold of you and have a couple sessions with you, which would be good, but what do you do with the ones that are dealing with it, you know, continually? Maybe it's 10, 15, 20 years after what's happened.
You know, in that case, they've lost balance in their life. So they've quit doing the things that got them through the first trauma that they came to me for.
Right.
So it's getting them reconnected with the tools that they've been using already. Also, watch your diet. You know, a lot of caffeine is going to make you more amped up. A lot of sugar. So if you're not continually fueling your body, which fuels your brain, you're not going to be in balance. Working out, getting those endorphins moving through your brain, working out. So it's just a matter of keeping your life in balance. And what is it that you like to do that you can do just for you? Whether it's walking the dog, playing with the kids, you know, whatever it is, working out in the garage, have a time limit on it so that you're not out of the garage and all of a sudden it's 6 hours later. So have a time limit on it, but it's part of keeping that healthy balance and making you more able to connect to your family.
Awesome. So what if someone is on the edge? What if someone, you know, even somebody that might watch this or listen to this, what if somebody's really on the edge and they're wanting to hurt themselves or potentially take their lives? What would be some things that you would want to tell them? Or, you know, I hate to go to the extreme, but I think it's important to talk about it. You get to a point where you get in that panic.
Absolutely.
What would you tell them?
Depending on the state of panic they're in, I would advise them to go to an emergency room. If they're not there yet, but they're still contemplating it, you know, maybe they need to come in and talk to me, and I will come in and meet them. Whether it's, you know, morning or night or my day off or, you know, whatever. I mean, I'll come in and meet them. Breathing, believe it or not. If they can take the time and do tactical breathing, which is the breath in and then hold it and then slowly out again, that actually lowers your heart rate and lowers your blood pressure.
So she actually said that she would be available to speak to people that are in that situation. Obviously, she does what she does because she cares about people. I mean, nobody gets into your profession without caring about people and what people are doing. So those people that are out there, you know, if you are, here's your reach out. Here's your reach out from Zoe. I'm always, every day I'm talking about, you know, not only you if you're in trouble reaching out, but if you know somebody that you know, you might have an effect on, that you'd be able to say, hey, you know, I think you ought to go talk to this person. If you really can't connect with someone, try Zoe. And that's, you know, we've had many discussions about, you know, the whole idea of suicide, and we don't, and some people just, you know, it's hard to save everybody, but I truly believe the more we talk about this kind of stuff, the more we podcast it, the more we throw it out there, whether it be our first responders or people that, you know, have to deal with trauma all the time, or victims of violence. I think it's important that we kind of keep the whole chatter going. Kind of the final question for today, at least, because we don't want to hold everybody too long. We want to kind of have these about 20 minutes to whatever. I think we've been going, well, what have we been going now? Almost, checking my thing here. Can't check. About 17 minutes or so. What's something that I guess you want people in those situations to remember, you know, until we meet again, until we talk again, and maybe one topic what's the one topic you really want to spend some time on as we do these?
That you're not alone. You're not alone. People have experienced depression. They've experienced anxiety. They've experienced social anxiety. They've experienced what it's like to be in that really dark place. And you're not alone. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's actually the strongest sign that you can have, that you're willing to work through this for your own survival. It's reaching out. It's a strength. It's not a weakness.
So thanks. I think that I'm not going to say much more other than I hope you'll join us every week. We're going to do this every week at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We will get proficient. I have just a little podcast mechanism. We're not in a studio. We're actually in your studio. We're at your office, and that's again at, where are we?
4190 South Highland Drive, Suite 108.
And your phone number is?
801-573-3562. And if I do not have the resources for you, I know where to find them for you.
And if you call me, this is where my resource will be too. You know, we have, in my own little network, we have a good therapist. We have a good woman, Heather Woolsey, who goes up and talks to the legislature. She's been a victim of domestic violence. We have resources in the first responder area, other first responders that have gone through, you know, issues and things like that. And so we hope you'll join us each and every week. And I'll make sure you have all the numbers, addresses, phone numbers, and things like that. And so next week, off the cuff, what topic do you think we might talk about next week? Anything that comes to mind?
I'm thinking about how stress manifests.
Okay. How stress manifests. And stress is part of our day. It could be motivating in a positive way.
Absolutely.
It could be demotivating in a different way, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, Zoe Roberts, I'm really excited to do this. I really am. It's going to get me back into doing like a daily or a weekly podcast, and nobody better to do it with. And so please reach out to her, reach out to me. We can get you in touch. Or if you're in a good spot, if you're in a really good spot, reach out to somebody else and see how they're doing. I don't know anybody that's normal. Do you know anybody that's normal?
Well, what's normal?
Exactly. That's normal? Exactly right. What's normal? And so I don't know anybody that's normal. And I think the most important thing is, for many of us, is to maintain and be vulnerable.
Yes.
Have the ability to admit that we're struggling or we're having a bad day. And if we get to a point where where we're kind of in that panic mode, the ability to reach out to somebody that can help us and talk us down that wall.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, thanks again. Long goodbye. We'll see you guys next time.
See you.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.